Welcome gamers to the start of a new Let's Play series. We're going to be playing Old World. Now Old World is a game that has been an Epic Game Store exclusive for about the last year. There was a expansion pack that was brought out with that one as well, like a free expansion. And now it's about to be released on Steam. Now I know that there's a lot of gamers who try to punish games that did actually have this Epic Game Store exclusive, but really I don't think the game would have actually gone through development without actually having that support. I personally don't like the exclusives that Epic does sort of take with games. I don't mind so much if it's during a beta phase or something like that, but I don't like games having it like a 1 year release on Epic before it does then release to Steam. And so I certainly fall more in the category of people who don't like the Epic exclusives, as I say, other than for betas or for areas where it's part of the actual development process rather than part of the release process. Having said that, a lot of games actually do struggle after they actually come out of Epic Game Store exclusives, and so I really hope that doesn't happen with Old World. It's a really exceptional game. The development, if we go through and have a look at, is it under extras? Yeah, credits. This is Mohawk Games, and so you can sort of Layla Johnson and Soren Johnson really are the ones who sort of steering the ship as such. Now Soren Johnson was the lead designer of Civ 4, so just to sort of put that into context, very, very high pedigree with what actually is going on there. So anyway, that's sort of the background of the game. It's a game that really does actually, it's like the best bits of Civ, in my opinion, are sort of in this game. One thing I don't like about the Civ games is that they go through the different eras. This game doesn't really do that. So for me, that's really quite cool. It's much more of a strategy game than a era game, if that makes sense. So I find it quite like a real grinding of the gears as you sort of go through these different technologies and civilization. Much prefer Old World. Like for me, this is absolutely the civilization killer, in my opinion. It's also a beautiful game. It's got the user interface is just exceptional. Another game that it sort of really does harken back to, I guess, would be a little bit like Age of Empires, but turn-based. in the essence that it's really more sort of combat focused than a lot of these other sort of games. Actually, it's probably more like Civ, to be honest, in the terms of the combat. But also games like Crusader Kings 3 or Crusader Kings, any of the Crusader Kings, where you've got, actually probably it's more like the early Crusader Kings where you didn't have quite as much RPG, but it does have a fairly heavy RPG aspect to it. Now, this will probably be an episode 0, just so I can sort of talk a little bit about the game. While we're in here, do I want to show the map editor? Yes, I do. And look, the reason I want to show this is just to go through the different sorts of maps that the game does come with, just so you can get a bit of a feel for it. So if we start with the most common map that you'll sort of find is just continent. So let's just start there and generate the map. It won't take too long. And so this is the continent map. I'll just zoom out so you just can sort of see how this one does work. So this particular map is literally a continent surrounded by ocean. That's sort of how it does work. We'll go across. My favourite is the archipelago. We'll just generate this one. I'll just go through just so you can sort of see the difference. Now, this is not really a good representation of archipelago. You end up with a lot more water. I'll just generate another one. Yeah, you see that like there's water that sort of snakes these big territories. They do tend to be sort of connected when you have a bit of a look at it through here. I can't really get it scrolling properly. Whoops, there we go. Scrolling on and off the ground. I'll just generate one more. Yeah, you sort of see like there's different choke points essentially. I like the idea of these choke points in the game. So this for me is my favourite algorithm for map generation. You've then got the arid plateau, which is literally just with an ocean or a big lake in the middle of it. And so it's pretty boring in my opinion, but anyway, that's there. Coastal rain basin is just like a single coastline. Extending into sort of more forested areas, so you get like this will be randomly generated on different sides with then a mountain range that sort of then blocks movement back out into the further reaches. So you sort of got like this lush coastal basin back in through there. The continent we've already seen. They've got multiple continents, which of course is going to be multiple, probably just 2. Yeah, there we go. So 2 islands essentially created in through that side. We've got Disjunction, which is sort of an unusual, I don't know why it's called Disjunction. It starts off with just a stream of water that comes from the centre of the map, which sort of then creates like this loop around the actual map itself. We've got Hardwood Forest, which, as you imagine, creates a fairly green map. Through here as well, surrounded on three sides by water. Since all the ones I've generated seem to sort of come off this side, so I'm assuming it's going to be the north, west and south. It's always going to be water. Then we've got ourselves Inland Sea, which you'd imagine is going to be like a Mediterranean sort of style, where you've got like snow and ice at the top, but you've then got the big waterway in the middle of the map. We've got Northern Ocean, which this one looks fairly interesting, actually, I've got to say. The islands look all, but overall, fairly interesting. Like deserts down through here, and then back up into ice, but with islands. And so I guess the forces are sort of starting more on these sorts of areas, and then have to sort of go and get other supplies and other sorts of resources from inside this particular region, which is interesting. I do quite like the look of that one there. And then Seaside, we generate this map. This I think is on two sides. On two sides. So it sort of extends around. A little bit of choke points around there, but generally a very, very lush area that you then sort of are playing on. So from my side, I do like Archipelago probably the most of all of them, just as a personal preference. And you then also have like an event browser. This is how you can sort of mod the game in all sorts of wonderful ways. The Encyclopedia is exceptional. I will actually just show this one very, very briefly. So you've got different categories in through here, where you can then sort of talk, like really have a look in lots and lots of detail about the game. This is probably the best of the of these. So the fact that you've got like a search facility as well. Like I've seen good versions of like in-game encyclopedias, but this for me has been the best that I've actually seen. It's really exceptionally well done. I think that games like Age of Wonders, they also have a good one as well. Other games often don't have a search facility, but this one is very, very good. I really do like it a lot. Close back out of there. And that's available in game. It's very much an incredibly good resource. You can sort of go out and have a look at the old world manual, but to be honest, the encyclopedia has got everything in it anyway. Let's just go back out. So now we're talking about, like, of course, this has been the Epic exclusive that I was talking about. It's now coming to Steam. If you are looking for a good, really, really good, solid, 4X strategy game, this is exceptionally good. And what they've done to try to sort of make this so that it's a bit more palatable for people who didn't get in the Epic Game Store and are wanting to sort of get the Steam version, if you get it within the first couple of weeks of launch, you will actually be able to go and get, if I just go to the scenarios, I won't open it up because there is sort of like a non-disclosure at the time of recording, and so I don't want to sort of expose too much, but I have seen that there has been now a release of the information about Heroes of the Aegean. This is like a scenario pack with 6 different scenarios in it that will be available. Oh, as I say, I won't open it up. But it is there if you do like playing the scenarios. The other sorts of scenarios that you actually have in the game, you've got like the Learn to Play tutorials. I've done 3 of them. I find these a little bit verbose, to be honest. Like, when you sort of get into them, there's a fair bit to sort of read and understand even as you sort of start these. They don't get into the nitty-gritty fast enough for me, but they're serviceable. They are serviceable, but they're not the best of the tutorials that I've seen in games. World maps, you've got like different sorts of preset maps where you can sort of choose your different factions back and through here. So there's where you've got like a limited group with just the Mediterranean, where you've got Rome, Greece, Egypt and Carthage. You've got the Middle East, where you've got the Greece, Egypt, Assyria, Babylonia and Persia. So different sorts of ways of doing this with world maps, essentially, is what you'll be playing on there. Rise of Carthage came out about 8-9 months ago, I think. And this one's only got 4 scenarios in it, so you do actually have the scenarios from this one as well. So Heroes of the Aegean, if you are wanting to get the game and get Heroes of the Aegean as part of it, you will need to get that. I think it's within 2 weeks of the actual launch on Steam, and then you'll actually get that one for free. Otherwise, that will then become a standalone deal, not a standalone DLC. It'll become a DLC that will be a paid DLC in the future. So anyway, that's if you do want the bonus, then I think that's a good idea. Look, to be honest, I can understand why developers are tempted to go with the Epic Game Store. I know why gamers punish some games for, like a lot of games actually, for going to and taking the Epic exclusive. Yeah, God, I do sit on the fence a little bit with this one. I do understand both sides. I think it's good that they're actually, at least they're introducing new content into the game for the Steam release. I think it's really quite a good way of doing it. I don't know why it's actually been done as DLC like this. I'm assuming that may be some sort of tie-in with the Epic contract. I've got no idea. But I still think it's a good idea to actually have that, just as a bit of excitement, because the game has been launched on Epic. It just hasn't been launched on Steam. And I do want to sort of do I will be making, as I say, this mini-series or this series to sort of try to sort of show what the game has got, because it is exceptional. It's an exceptional game. Right, let's go back in and start a new game. I don't think, is there anything else we need to really look at? Heaps of mods in the game. There are a lot. It will load in eventually. I'll just let it sort of do what it's doing. So it is actually loading in at this stage. Come on. Oh, it would help if I went to install. So anyway, there's a lot of mods that you can get for the game if you're interested. I won't be playing with any mods, but there is a lot here, including by Mohawk Games. Like, the developers have also made some of the mods as well, just so you can sort of see how mods are built. Anyway, we'll just go back to the main menu. Multiplayer looks pretty damn good if you do like multiplayer games. I don't really like multiplayer games all that much, but they are available there, and there is different ways of playing. So through the network, you play online against opponents in real time. That looks to be the best way of playing. Play by cloud is like a turn-based game of a way of sort of then taking it in turns, which the turns are pretty quick. And so when you have a turn-based game where you are waiting for each player to have their turn, and you're doing it like a play-by-email style, that can wear pretty thin. And so I think that would take forever to play. Hot seat you've got, which is cool if you've got like multiple people playing on the same computer. I think this game would work fairly well with network and hot seat. And you also have server mode as well, so host a game on a remote server. Anyway, that's the multiplayer. We've gone through most of the stuff here, to be honest. So what we might do is we'll set up a new game. So we'll just go to single player, and we'll go to new game in through here. There's different ways of playing. The first way is to choose a leader. Now, I'm going to be choosing random. I'm just going to go with a random leader. I don't really care much about it. I don't know enough about the game to sort of think, oh, I've got to go with a certain particular character. We'll have a look at the way that the game is actually structured. If we click on Assyria, for example, I'll just talk a little bit about what all of the factions actually have with this. So if I click on Assyria and I go to stats, this is just flavor text in through here. You always start off with 3 different texts. So this one here starts off, for example, with trapping. It starts off with administration and military drill. And what this one does, the trapping gives us a slinger unit. So every one of them will start off with some sort of military unit. Now, the Babylonians are interesting in the fact that they actually start off with, I think they start off with the slinger unit there as well. They also, actually, I'll just talk about this one. I think that one also does start off with warriors, but this one doesn't. I'm not exactly sure how or why that happens. Yeah, anyway, that'll be okay. We'll keep it slingers into. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe it's just a bit more of a randomization. I may be getting confused with that one. Sorry. You'll see that most of these are starting off with slingers. If we go back to Rome, they start off with ironworking, which does give them the warrior unit back in through this side as well. So the way it works, if we just look at Rome, so we've got the 3 techs that you start with. You've then got some unique units back in through here. They have the Hastatus and also the Legionary. So these are just going to be melee infantry units, whereas things, for example, like the Persians have got like the Akkadian archers back in through here, which is a ranged infantry, and also the Chimerian archers as well, which is another ranged unit back in through that side. They also will have usually 4 different shrines that can be built, which give different bonuses to the actual game itself. Now, I'll talk about the bonuses when we're actually in-game as to what the different resources are, and I'll try to sort of do them and introduce them slowly over time rather than trying to sort of just dump it all in one video and then sort of expect people to sort of understand what's going on. So I'll slowly try to almost make it a tutorial as we go through the game, as we sort of then go and play. The next thing that's interesting is that you have to pick 3 of 4 possible families. Now, each family has different traits as well. So the Fabius family is considered a family of champions. And so they have, if I'm just middle click this, that will then stay open. I can then sort of have a look at different things. So family cities end up with generating 2 more training per turn. They have plus 50% city defense. They have new units start with steadfast, so you end up with better sort of attacks versus tribal units. Family seat, you get plus 25% of the of training as well. So these are very good at training. And on seat founded, you gain a warrior as well. So you get it like an extra warrior by going with the Fabius family. Common traits are the different characters in here might start with heroes or commanders. These traits play a pretty big role in the way the game actually does play, and I'll talk about this in just a second. In fact, I'll talk about it in the next one down here with leaders. And then they have different sorts of opinions for the actual family. Like, you know, if they want to have the based on the number of military units in each family, they're wanting the largest military. The smallest military is going to give them a negative 40. If they're missing wine, it's going to sort of then go across wine and dyes they do like. So they do want this one. So each citadel is worth plus 10, and then they've got volunteers as well. If we have a look at the next one across, the Claudius family is landowners. So they're going to have different sorts of traits, different sorts of abilities through here. So they like the most number of cities out of the actual families that they have that the Romans would then be controlling. So very, very different sort of looking things through here. Their cities have got extra growth. So just a different focus. Each one of them has, like the Valerius as patrons and the Julius as statesmen. So they all have different abilities, traits, and preferences. The game is very much role-play oriented as well through the different families. So it's really quite interesting the way the game actually combines these different game mechanics. Then we have the leader archetype. This one has got a tactician archetype, which then sort of is really what our main leader ends up becoming. We'll then take on this archetype. Now, we don't have to play with the archetypes that come with the game. We can randomize all of this stuff if we wanted to. In fact, we'll sort of have a look at that in the next phase. We're going to be let the game choose a nation for you, so we'll just go random for our gameplay. But you can also pick your nation when you settle your first city. So if you know that you've got very specific traits that you like with a particular resource, you may decide to go that way, open up the game, see what resources are around you, and then choose your actual faction from at that point. Anyway, we'll go this way here. We'll just let the game choose that run randomly for us. I'm just going to go across to next. Now, this is the advanced setup. We can go to simple setup, which is what most people would then do, I guess, would just be to go across to here, where you choose your difficulty level. I will play it on noble. So on the different difficulties are from the easiest to the most complex. The noble is probably going to stretch me a little bit, I think. You'll see as we sort of go through, you get more research, you get more orders. I'll talk about what they are as we sort of go through. Their research makes perfect sense, but orders won't just yet. Anyway, we'll keep it on the noble, which will make it fairly difficult. You can play random map or pre-made map. The map script, you can decide whether you go random or any of the ones that we looked at before. I do like archipelago. I like the look of it. Map size, you can go small, which is recommended for 4 players. So the width and height is 66. And then the option presets, so just default settings in through there. Or you can go to advanced setup. And so in this case, nation will be random. This is the leader archetype. So the preset leader, whichever way it goes, it'll just choose what the preset is, or we can choose exactly which one we want. If you have a preference, you can then go and do that one, or you can pick it once the game starts, and you get to see what the lay of the land actually is. But I'll just go with the preset leaders in this instance. 3 opponents, which means that there's 4 of us on the map. Mortality is going to be standard, so characters do not frequently die young. So this way we can play a little bit more of the role play, but not sort of like without having characters hanging around for too long. Turn scale is going to be in years. The event, actually, you can go either years or semesters. So either years or half years, but we'll go with years. The semesters, of course, keep the characters around for twice as long. The event level is going to be moderate, so we'll sort of keep the events sort of coming through. Again, you can have it sort of play from moderate down to minimal. This is the succession. I won't worry about this one. This is just going to be genders are inherit equally, and the oldest child inherits. That way it's just sort of simple. We don't have to sort of plot too much with that one through there. Difficulty we've seen there before. The tribal strength, I'll keep that on normal. So, and then we've got the AI aggression. I want that to be aggressive. I want them to be difficult to fight against. The AI advantage, we've got none through there, which I'm happy enough with. This is sort of things, for example, like they get extra civics or training or whatever else they might get, extra turns. I'll keep it on none just so it's fairly level there. But the AI development, established they start with 3 cities. I might just ramp that one down to 2. We're still going to have aggressive, but only 2 cities to start with. I'll have all the victory settings in through there as well. Map script, we're going to go archipelago. Show hidden map scripts. I'll turn that one on. I'm not sure what that one does. I'll just leave it on there though. And then you've got all these other things you can do, like no fog of war if you want that one, to see what's going on. Probably if you're learning the game, that's often a good way to sort of just see what the AI does, just so you can sort of try to analyse how the AI is playing the game, which is often a good. You get some good tips by looking at that one. Anyway, that'll do us. So we'll start the game, and this will be basically where we leave this one, I think. So I will leave it here. And that way, if I screw up the start, I can go back and re-record rather than coming in and just thinking, oh, okay, we're playing as the Romans, and then when I go to episode 1, it's going to be something different. So I will leave it here. I will start the game, and then we'll get into the actual game itself. Thanks for watching. Actually, again, a big special thank you to my Patreon supporters. And also, if you do like this sort of content, please like and subscribe. I know that there's no gameplay in this particular video, so next video, there will definitely be some gameplay. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you then.